Let's roll. This is Countercharge, your podcast for ranks, flanks, and kings of war. Join your hosts as they delve into the world of Panithor and bring you worldwide coverage of all things Kings of War.
Welcome to Countercharge. I'm Nathan Arnold.
I'm Adam Ballard.
And I'm Dylan Scribner. Welcome. We're going to have like a little impromptu episode tonight. We're a fresh week, a little over a week off of the mighty Lonewolf GT, and so we brought in a couple of the big dogs to talk about it, and let's go around and for those who don't know, Nathan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're part of Countercharge, so most listeners probably have heard from you before.
Usually I'm talking from a lore perspective, so this is a very different approach for me. Yeah, I'm Nathan Arnold. Been playing Kings of War since, the Great Sundering of Warhammer in 2015. I wasn't a huge Warhammer fan. I played Lizardmen then. I took them into Kings of War 2nd Edition. I played a little bit of 1st Edition, but took Salamanders up, really liked the background, really liked the lore. And then a couple years ago, after, 3 other armies, I said, hey, I want to get back into Salamanders because I love the lore, because it's something that is, I really appreciate about the world. And so I started painting an army, kind of got through a whole bunch of things and played in a couple tournaments last year with them. And it was like, hey, I'm bringing the Lonewolf. So I built myself a shiny, cool display board that fit barely into my suitcase. I had 2 suitcases because I went down to San Antonio, then went up to Dallas. So like 2 weeks of travel for me. Is a whole lot going on. But yeah, played Lone Wolf, and I wasn't expecting the outcome that happened. So it was really cool. Yeah, I was not expecting to get what I got. So I'm happy to be here and talk about this, and hopefully someone can give me some insight as to how I ended up here, because I don't know most of this time. I'm sure I'll have some thoughts, but we'll see.
You had a great run.
You claim lore, but you take good armies, Nathan. I see through your lies.
We'll talk about army lists. Everybody that saw was like, oh, so how many commandants you're taking? And I was like, 0. And they were like, what? So I don't know. I'm the counter Salamanders player to where a lot of people were taking them this year. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see everything change now that I've played this, and everyone's gonna be like, no, commandants are terrible. No, commandants are good. They're fine. I just don't like them. They're not my style. So Salamanders are 100% my style. It's the army that I love because it's the army that plays the easiest for me. And yeah, huge fan of them. So come on, Adam, tell us how much you love elves, because we know you love elves.
Yes, I will. I took elves for all the exact opposite reasons that Nathan took salamanders. I played elves because I don't know anything about the lore, like the pretentious elf player that I am. But elves, we do have something in common, though. Elves were the first army that I played when I joined in 2nd Edition as well. And I played them for pretty much all of 2nd Edition, beginning of 3rd, until I hopped over to EOD and then some Night Stalkers. Dabbled with some things else in between there, but nothing too committed. So, but now, I was just not too happy with it where EOD was in 4th edition. I, been playing Night Stalkers for quite a while now, so I wanted to change up, and none of the other armies that I hadn't really played before were, scratching that itch. So I ended up going back to the well, got the elves out, and you know what? They still shoot just fine. In fact, they shoot even better, some might say, this edition than they did in one prior. So
I also started in 2nd Edition back in 2016, and Salamander player through and through. Lizardmen, that's my jam. Played them basically all the way. It was pretty much the only army I ever played. I would have my one-off GTs where I would like randomly take a stupid Northern Alliance list or something. It was either Salamanders or Forces of Nature that was like 60% Salamanders for the infantry units. Nathan, you got anything on your hobby table?
Pretty much immediately came back and said, hey, I got to put the rest of my Warpath stuff together. So I have my Nameless out now. I'm I've already done my Asterians and my Enforcers, and I told myself I can't do my Marauders until I'm done with the others. So I really wanted to get the Marauders, but I'm like, nope, I've got the Nameless Primed on Spruce. I'm gonna start pulling them off and working on them. So I kind of went back to something. I'm generally a avid painter when it comes to right before an event, and it's really hard for me to get anything else done if it's not a Kings of War army. So I kind of was like, you know what? They're here. I'll just pull them out, get working on them. So I've gotten some of them done. Probably have them finished up in the next couple of weeks, which will be fun.
Cool. Adam?
Nothing on my hobby table. My hobby table right now is actually at Jason Burr's house, who's letting me borrow his elves for Masters. So I am not going to field a single elf unit that I've painted, assembled, or anything in the foreseeable future. I'm just going to play elves, other people's elves. Shout out to Justin May, who let me borrow his auxiliary elf army because he was playing elves also this weekend. But he got me an army that I could play for Lonewolf.
You took his cast off and still got better than him.
I think Justin did just fine. I think there were several elf players that did exceptionally well. Jose is another one.
That is true.
After day one, Jose was flying so high.
Yeah, we might have to nerf the elves now.
This is what I do. Jason can attest. You play elves, you do well with them, and then they get nerfed to the ground. So expect it coming soon.
I personally, I don't have a lot on my hobby table. As much as I hate to say, I have a couple non-mantic things on the table. I was really tired of only getting to play at GTs because I can't get anyone. I can't twist arms around here to get them to play Kings of War. Everyone only wants to play 40K. So I unfortunately did have to purchase a few of those items, but only salamanders. I may be playing 40K, but I'm going to be playing salamanders. I do have more slashers on the way. I got a guy that's printing some models for me. I'm going to replace my I'm not replacing them. I want to do Fire Drake upgrades. So I don't want to just take the same model and just say it's a Fire Drake. So I got to have 4 more slasher models to be Fire Drakes. So anyway. Yeah, so we can get into the weekend. First of all, it goes without saying, it was a Kings of War tournament, right? I mean, it was a great weekend. Mark Cox runs a beautiful, smooth event. Don't tell him I said that. We don't need him thinking he's good.
He will tell you he runs the best event in the world, and he's very honest about that. We don't need to stroke his ego. He is doing a good job of it himself.
Yeah, I mean, just an awesome weekend. This isn't really the atmosphere to do like a play-by-play, but I figured we could kind of go through our games a little bit and just kind of talk about what we ran into, what we kind of think about, like how other armies are playing, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'll start us off since I did 100% the worst out of this panel. I took salamanders too. I took what I think is probably a sleeper build. I went heavy on slashers. So I think that there's something there. I just haven't figured it out yet. I mean, this was my game 1 of that weekend was my second game of 4th edition. So, but I think there's something there. Basically, the list is 4 slashers and Rakwas, and everything else is just unlocking and supporting that. So, but I ran up against Goblin War Engines playing Dustin Howard, and it went about as well as you thought it would. You would think it would. The funny thing about that list is I actually don't think it is as nasty as it's made out to be. I guess it is nasty. It's a strong list, but it's just doing what Goblins have always done. It's death by 1,000 cuts. They're just nickel and diming you. I never really thought, I was in the game until the last couple turns, basically. A couple decisions or a couple dice rolls one way or another, and it could have been a different game. But, of course, Dustin's an excellent pilot, whatever he's piloting. And then my second game was against goblins as well, but it was like the opposite build. And instead of a bunch of war engines, it was a bunch of giants. And that was a fun game. That was a lot funner than playing against Dustin's list. The only saving grace I had in that game was he had more of his giants were rampagers versus slayers. So I was kind of able to facilitate and keep my slashers away from the slayer giants, because I had 6 regiments of Geckodas and a couple regiments of ancients that I could kind of screen those guys off, and I won that game by a small margin. Then I ran into another Titan spam list in Jesse Garrett's Night Stalkers. The Quad Terrors, that is a list right there. It's an interesting meta call because there was a lot of infantry lists. There's a lot of infantry now. That's one thing I've noticed that is different in this edition. I don't know if it's, again, I've just been to Lonewolf, but I saw a lot of, orcs. I was playing a lot of infantry. Goblins has always got a lot of infantry, but I'd be interested to hear if y'all have noticed that in the games that y'all have played. Day 2 kind of just, rounds 4 and 5 kind of just went. It kind of felt like it flew by for me. I played Northern Alliance list. I played a new guy. He's BJ Williams. He owns a store in Waco, Texas. And so he hasn't been able to play a lot, but he's been in the scene and supporting the scene for a little while, like a year, maybe 2 years. But he hasn't been able to play a lot because he's been building his store up, and he's been doing a lot of work there. But he's just now getting to a point where he can start going to events, he told me. So we may see more from him. But he had a pretty cool list, leaning a little heavier into like troops of Icekin hunters and regiments of... Oh, no. It was troops of pack hunters. And then a few troops and a few regiments. And the troops will surprise you because they only have 2 less attacks than the regiment. But that was a really good game. That scenario, the blitzing the blizzard, leave it to Mark Cox to... So in this scenario, each player got to roll dice at the top of the turn to decide the maximum line of sight you could draw. So you rolled the dice, and that was that many inches. And so, of course, on my side, I would roll the dice and roll poor, and he would roll poor. And so I could only see like 6 or 7 inches, but we got to, for him, and it was, he could shoot anything he wanted to.
You're supposed to add the numbers together, Dylan.
Well, we were, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe I played it wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to roll it at the top of the player turn or top of the turn. So your turn 1, you roll, and if you can see 15 inches, then on his turn 1, he sees 15 inches, and then turn 2, you do a new roll. And you can see so far, and then he can see the same.
Did y'all ask that question to Mark?
I've played it a couple of times over the years, so it's a known scenario how it works.
It says the top of each player turn. So that's what threw me off.
Probably did it wrong then.
Because we were so close. It was like, this doesn't matter anymore. Let's move on.
That was the same with, I played Lex that round, and after turn 1, we were just like, we can see each other. Let's play. So...
Yeah, I might be misremembering that, but I could have swore it said the top of each player's turn, or at the top of each player turn. I might have did it wrong. We were kind of making fun of people who had got round 3 wrong. I was like, just read, and I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm reading this, and I'm not sure what to do. But anyway.
Don't worry. Round 3 was like a Portal Apparel adjacent for those that don't know. And good God, the scenario is just poorly written in the book. Like it's not. Yeah, I have people explain to me how that scenario is supposed to be played, and then I go read it, and I'm like, that's not what it says.
Yeah, I think it's a product of just wanting something different, but like the game is already like so simple at its core that it's hard to add a layer on to existing things without it, kind of getting out of control. But my last round I played against rat shooting, and you would think that went poorly for me, and it did all game. I have no idea how I won that game, but it was just like one of those things where you're just sitting there and losing all game, and then you're like, oh, I can move here, 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 kill this unit, and somehow I win. My opponent was equally confused.
Shooting is fine, but you got to be able to play scenarios, right? So I think some of the lists that we saw that were the somewhat like boogeyman type shooting lists, whether it was like Chapman's all decimators, or maybe it was probably the Ratkin list I'm thinking of. It wasn't Michelonis, was it? It was Tristan.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You still have to have tools to play a scenario, and I think that last round it was dominate, right? So you're just like, okay, you're going to shoot the hell out of me, but you got to get to the circle eventually, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it to him, but he swore up and down he's been playing really well with that list. I think he said he was had won at had gone positive at 1 days and like went 4-1 at Bayou. Like he said, he was doing really good, but I mentioned it to him. You got to think about the editions just started, so you got to think about, does it look like you're going to be consistent? Scenario is huge. It may be even bigger in fourth than it was before, as far as like being able to facilitate your plays and get to the scoring zones. He's probably going to keep trying it, maybe making a few tweaks here and there. It's a solid list. He's had some tunnel runners to support, but yeah, you're right. It's we sometimes we get excited and we're like, oh, there's no limit now. We're only limited by battalions. Let me take all this and this and this and this, and at the end of the day, you do still have to get to the scoring zones. But yeah, Adam, how'd your weekend go?
My weekend went very well. I was very happy with the elves and how they performed. I was really struggling beginning of fourth edition because I think I identified a challenge in the fourth edition rules, which is it felt like shooting seemed like it was an all or nothing type ordeal where you have to take a lot of shooting if you want it to be effective, or if you take just no shooting, because little bits of shooting just felt very uninspiring. They didn't really do what it did before. So, in previous lists, I've had like 12 lightning bolt in a list. And I thought that was a good amount of shooting to do what I want to do, which is pick off some chaff maybe early in the game, finish off a unit that survived combat later in the game, things like that. But that just isn't how shooting, I think, works in fourth edition. So I struggling finding something that would work without just going, oops, all shooting. So I landed on the elves, and I have a good amount of shooting and 2 hordes of archers, 2 troops of glade stalkers, blizzard wizard, alchemist curse mage. But to tally up all those points, and it's like a third of my army that I've spent on shooting. But it actually is extremely effective. And one of the things I'm really enjoying is that it's long range. Like, it's a lot longer range than a lot of the other shooting I'm seeing, which is trying to utilize the 4-up shooting, but is like 12-inch range typically. So I'm able to really, kind of counter those units. And then I also think that some of the gatekeeper lists are going to be like orcs and rats. So if you just can't kill hordes of infantry with your list, you're probably going to be in a really rough spot at any event you go to. So I, just made sure that when I was building, I was conscious about that, as well as keeping in mind the different types of scenarios and just trying to, kind of check all the boxes that I like to check when it comes to army building. So that's kind of how I arrived at this elf list. And this was the first tournament I did. And I don't think I'm going to change anything. I really enjoyed how it played, and I had some good luck with it. And, good dice rolls at good times always help anyway. Makes you a good player when you can roll good nerve at the right time. So,
how'd your weekend go?
Oh, it was terrible. It was an awful weekend. I took all the things that Adam just said about what you should do, and I didn't do them. I took just enough shooting to make me happy, which is a little bit, but not too much. And then I took hammers that I like to throw at things. And I played cavalry, which I haven't played cavalry in a long time. So, real quick, my list is, for all of you Salamander players that are keen to change how you do everything in life, Ceremonial Guard Horde, because they're painted. They were fine. I'd probably rather have primes right now. A regiment of primes because they're 125 points and they stand there and have defense 5. Regiment of Corsairs because I like pirates. They're cool. 2 regiments of Kaizona Raptor Lancers, one of which has the J-boots and one of which had nothing. I think the other one was he had Blade of Slashing. My Ceremonial Guard had Orb of Towering Presence, which actually mattered in a couple of games, but not like a huge amount, just like, hey, extra points, which is cool. Then I had, through the cavalry, I had another troop of cavalry, which was just naked because you don't need anything on a troop. I had 2 regiments of tyrants. Got to remember that change, which were the absolute rock stars the entire tournament. They were fantastic. If you're not taking 2 regiments of tyrants, you're building salamanders wrong, I think. And then I had a troop of Scorch Wings, which are okay. They're fine. They do what they do. I had 2 Liquilodons because you don't leave home without at least 2 of them. I'm probably going to shift to doing 3 because I love how they work in 4th edition. They're not just a shooting platform. They have melee 3, and they really do go after stuff and get it. And you have to fight them at some point. And when you do, then you have a regiment of tyrants sitting behind them going, well, you made a mistake. And then I had Clan Lord on Raptor just to move around fast. And then I had a Mage Priest on Raptor, mainly because I had the model. I wanted to put him on foot. I put him on a Raptor because I had the model, and it's a really, really good model. And I was really happy I put him on the Raptor because him having that 3 extra inches of movement really does help when pretty much all your stuff is short range. 12 inches is the full extent I had. I had no offense from him, so he's just running Banechant heal. But then your ability to throw the command bubbles are fantastic. And the vast majority of the tournament, I'm running the +1 defense, or at least trying it. It probably succeeded statistically far, far, far below what it should. So on 3 dice, you need 2 4-ups. So you're thinking that can't be that difficult. Numbers wise, that's not that hard. And then your dice are like, you would think, right? You would really think that's easy to do. And then no, they're not. It's just, garbage until the turn where you really need it. And dice are like, oh, okay, fine. We'll do it now. Like you took 4 chip damage the turn before, but this turn you're getting charged by 2 regiments of Guardian Brutes. Now we'll put it on there. So you survive with that horde of Ceremonial Guard. And that's honestly, that's how a lot of the weekend went. So I'll probably run through the games a little bit if we want to kind of bounce back and forth at them. But my list is built off of what I want to play, not what is the meta. And I know that tyrants will kill things. One of them's rocking the Brew of Sharpness. The other one's rocking the Brew of Haste. So one of them is move 7 with Wild Charge D3. So you're basically a cav unit, more or less. And then the other, I could run it through any kind of terrain. And I'm still 30 attacks on Forest Crush 2, which when I Banechant still does a lot of damage. And if you run one of those, with 30 attacks when you're not hindered into almost anything, if you're hitting on 3s, a lot of things just go away. And I don't want to fault my opponents because I was doing my level best to protect my tyrants the entire tournament. I honestly think my tyrants between the two regiments died. I think I lost 4 regiments of tyrants the entire tournament, which when your opponent has those 2 as their hammers and you're losing not even one of them per game, that's just going to be bad news. And so my tyrants were eating, 4 units every game, each of them 3-4 units. And that's just devastating because they'll just run around and nom everything up. And then I can't even say I played the scenario as well. I had 2 games where I legitimately only won because I got the right dice roll at the right time to end the game when it did. And then one game where my opponent ran out of time. And it's like, well, sometimes you win them just through the sheer luck of it and the opponent not killing tyrants. So if you're playing a Salamander player and they have tyrants, kill the tyrants. And if you're a Salamander player, don't let them kill your tyrants. They're how you win or lose the game pretty quickly.
Nathan, you're giving away all the secrets. Jeez.
If someone's not looking at the Salamander list going, what's the hardest hitting thing in here? And you're like, oh, there's 30 attacks on 4s. I wonder how I can make that spicy. Yeah, tyrants are really, really good. I like the slasher idea, Dylan. I think slashers are in a really good spot, particularly if you go with the flame breath modification to them. And it's not that I hate Commandants, because I think Commandants do have a place. But I think the tendency for people that have Commandants is I want to give the opponent, or give myself more time to shoot the opponent when they're coming across the table. And my list is, 5 units that have 18-inch range shooting. No, 4 units that have 18-inch range shooting. I have to get across the table because those guys aren't going to do enough damage. And so I have to be in combat turn 2. I have to be smashing things in the face turn 2. And so I did. I just run across the table and go smash stuff. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing the list.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a great weekend. I'm personally a little more reactive in my play style than that. So I haven't tried tyrants yet in 4th. It's hard to argue against them. I mean, you said everything you needed to about tyrants. The big thing, like on my current list, is it's so many points. Like going 5 titans, I can't really. If I also have tyrants, then I have no sustain, no real battle line. But yeah, man, they didn't get shot to hell, huh?
So when you look at the amount of shooting I ran against, it wasn't a lot. That was the one benefit. I played Chris Davis the weekend before. We played at was going to be a tournament, ended up being some of us hanging out at a game store. And he had a bunch of decimators, and I learned you can't play coy if someone has shooting because they'll just waiver a bunch of stuff. Tyrants don't get wavered. So the only concern with them is they get shot off the board because they're 17 fearless. So they're going to come across the table. If you're going to shoot something, sure, you could shoot them, but they're fearless. So they're not going to waver. So you try to waver something else that happens to be there. And that's where my Mage Priest and my Clan Lord saying, hey, defense 6 on the cav unit in front, throw the Scorch Wings and try to keep them out of the way. And I screwed that up a few times with my Tyrants of the weekend. But when you could say, hey, a troop of cav that's 14 nerve, you get them defense 6, sure, shoot them. They're not dead. They're not going to waver. So, they're rallied with the Clan Lord. So they're still going to be there. So finding the right balance, and I don't have a bunch of games under my belt with this list. It was 2 games the weekend before and then Lonewolf. I like Salamanders, so I've played Salamanders a bunch over the years, but this exact list is a really new thing, and I really liked it. But no, shooting, I didn't hit as much of it as I could have. If I had hit a lot of shooting, I probably would not have done as well as I did. So you have to get lucky in dice rolls, and you have to get lucky with matchups. I did both.
Yeah. How do you feel about the commands? Did you use a lot of the others besides the +1 defense?
I used a life leech a few times. That's probably the one where you have to decide what's the right thing to do if you're stuck in a combat with someone. Do I do the life leech or do I do the defense? And usually for me, it was, do I think I can survive them, especially if I kill one of, let's say, 2 units charging my ceremonial guard. Okay, if I can kill one of them, can I survive the other one coming back? So I maybe don't need the defense 6, which one I want to get that health back. So I'm doing heal 3 and I'm doing the life leech. When you get life leech 1, it really sucks. But then you also realize, well, I wouldn't have gotten the defense 6. So you're like, okay, there's at least something I'm getting out of it versus getting nothing out of it. Defense 6 is by far and away the best thing that the Salamanders have. I would love to say that I use the +1 speed. There's probably an opportunity where I could have, but I didn't. Just because I was focused on, no, let's keep that defense 6 up everywhere that we can, everywhere that we need to. And that's really your main go-to in the Salamander list. I would love to see, and I know with the generic rules, and they're going to come out with more, I would love to see probably a slight rebalancing with some of them. I hate the defense on the 2 successes, but it's the right place to be. It is hard. It is really difficult to get there. I would probably put my Clan Lord having the 4 dice instead of Clan Lord having 3 and giving the extra to the Mage Priest. But there were times where I got 2 of them off because I had 3 on each. And so the benefit of it being there is really nice. I wish I could say I have great insights and good ideas. I think Salamanders need another kind of an offensive based one because a lot of their stuff is defense and non-combat focused. And I think they need one that is more offensive in nature. I'd love to, being me, love to lean into the lore of it being a when you've been attacked, someone does X amount of wounds to you, it benefits somehow because Salamanders, their big thing is their blood is like on fire. Like their blood is lava, more or less, coming at them. So if you take damage, great. Now you get a command that leans into that lore pretty hard, which I would love. I would love for them to use that as a great way to bring that lore back in. And people would wonder, why do they have this weird rule about when you get damaged, something happens? That would be why. Like, hey, let's lean into that. Maybe it's you do damage back based on the damage you've taken. Something really cool would be a lot of fun. But that's me. I'd probably base it more on that than how can I get a really good command.
Hearing that opens up an opportunity for, I would suggest Retaliate as a command then, but I do want Retaliate to change, where I think that it's just too situational at this point. I think Retaliate should just be as simple as if you're just reforming or counter-charging, if you will, you just get +1 crushing strength. Like I don't think you need to be charged twice. I don't think that all of that needs to happen. It's a rule that I think you can put specifically on the right units, and then I think it would be a very good situational command that provides kind of what you were describing there, Nathan, where in this situation, it fits the lore. They do more damage after they've taken damage, right? That's effectively what it's going to be.
I'd probably, if someone said, Nathan, gun to your head, what would you do? I'd say it's, you get +1 crushing strength. If you're counter-charging, I don't have counter-charge anymore. If you're engaged with the enemy already and you do combat, and I'd probably just make it like a single 4-up. So it's pretty easy, but then you're burning what could be that +1 defense. So you're having a balance between, do I think I can survive? Do I need to try to survive? Or do I want to try to kill the thing in front of me? And right now, Salamanders don't have that option. And I know not every army does. So please don't, anyone that has terrible commands, don't take this like, oh, I really want them to fix ours before yours. No, absolutely. There's a lot of people have worse commands by far and away. But lean into the lore with them more than just how can we make something that feels appropriate. Say like Green Rage. Green Rage is perfect for the orcs. They need to tweak it to being like the +1 defense or something. But it's a perfect command for the orcs, because it's extremely thematic and it's very invigorating to be the player that gets to cast it. Having played an orc player at Lonewolf, yes, it's really good. Thonars is insane and should never exist.
I was about to say the problem with Green Rage is not Green Rage, it's the characters. And you could say the same about the Ratkin. Like you make this thing that's strong, so it's difficult to do, but then these armies have access to multiple characters that are designed to negate the difficultiness of the thing you created. So it's kind of like, so I hope they look at that rather than make the commands a lot worse. The commands don't necessarily need to be, I could be wrong, I guess.
I think you're spot on, Dylan. I think you're spot on. We're in a good spot where I think some of these commands that initially were just like, oh my gosh, this is so strong, I think they're in a decent spot. I think they do need to just be balanced where it's like, okay, this shouldn't be every, all four characters in an orc army shouldn't be able to maybe guarantee get off green rage, or, all like Ratkin, all plague pots all the time everywhere, right? I think that the way salamanders do it, like Nathan was saying, he probably would do a 4 dice commander so that he gets a big command, a powerful command like the defense 6 off, reliably. But everybody else in his army is going to be very, very unlikely for that to happen, right? So I think that we just need some rebalancing, retweaks, make it a little bit less consistent for some of the higher tier, better commands. And we do need to show some love to the armies that we aren't talking about, that don't have the commands that are, every turn I'm going to cast this when I'm in combat or whatnot. I mean, the elf ones, I actually like the elf commands. I didn't rate them too highly initially, but after playing the army, and really the commands were not a consideration when I built the list at all. Seeing how effective just headstrong, the potential of headstrong on any unit at any time, it really made some matchups I had against shooting armies a lot more difficult for them, where a little troop of archers is sitting there and it's easily wavered, right? But 50% chance that it's going to shoot back at you. So do you just keep shooting it and like overkill it? Or do you try to put some wounds on other important units, right? So it really made some difficult choices, and I actually liked that, as a situational command that had a lot of benefits. So
did that come up in your matchups, Lone Wolf weekend?
I would say every turn I'm casting the Inspiring Headstrong command, mainly because I only put 2 inspiring sources in my army, so I'm trying to just, get some things inspired that otherwise wouldn't be. But the Headstrong, I failed more than I succeeded with Headstrong, but I probably did 10 to a dozen Headstrong rolls over the weekend. And, the 2 or 3 that ended up going off were pretty crucial key moments. And then there were a couple that I was like, man, if I got that one, I think I locked the game, but it didn't happen. So
I think there's a lot of space that Mantic has, and I appreciate the path that they are taking towards making more commands, listening to the community, doing what they're doing. I think there needs to be decisioning on the player's part of what command do I cast. I have to look at the scenario I have in front of me and say, what command do I cast? What's the right thing for right now? I think Salamanders are in a pretty good place for that. It's the defense, life leech, speed kind of boost. So am I going to be in combat? Okay, give me that defense. Am I already in combat? Maybe it's a life leech. If I'm not in combat, maybe speed, but maybe the defense. So there's some decisioning, but there's not really a hard decision. There's not, okay, I could do the retaliate or I could do the defense. You don't have that direct, which one's the right one? Did I make the right call? Oh, maybe the retaliate one's easier, so I'm going to do that because it's a little more guaranteed. Or maybe I can run a couple of guys that only have 2 dice because it's just 1 4-up. And that's, I think we're getting every army to the place of it's probably more like 5 or 6 commands plus the generic ones that you want to have. Because like, hey, the Salamander's going to have 1 or 2 they're elemental focused, or there's one that's Gecko focused, and there's one that's elemental focused, and there's one that's salamander focused, and there's 3 that are just like, hey, they can apply to anyone at any time, and you have those ones you have to balance around. I think if Mantic takes I'm going to say right approach, the approach I would take to this, and looks at how they can make the commands something that is flavorful to your army, makes you make decisions based on that, but you also don't have to understand every single opponent's commands, what they're bringing to the table every time. You're just like, hey, what are your big commands? Like, what are the big ones you have? Oh, it's +1 crushing strength. It's this or that. Honestly, if an opponent has headstrong, I'll probably want to know that, but it's not something I'm going to like change my decision based on, because it's a chance it gets off, and then it's a chance you roll the dice. So you're taking that because that's the right thing for you to do in that moment, but I'm not going to make my decisions based on what your commands are. unless it's a, hey, +1 defense. No, I really got to work around that. I got to make those decisions. So having a couple big ones, like you said, Adam, and then having a whole lot that just kind of fit in and give your army more flavor and give you those decisions every turn, I think is really good.
Yeah. I do want to call it, because you had a very good point there, Nathan, where I think if we get to where 5 or 6 commands and generic commands, there is going to be a lot of confusion, right? And it's going to be a little bit more difficult for players that are more casual, I think, in that regard, where you're playing against an army you've never played before. And then, if I'm sitting there trying to be a nice guy, spewing off, 5 or 6 commands, like, oh, this is what I can do here. This one, it only works on these units here. So you got to watch out for that, this, that, and the other. It could get a little complicated. So I would like to see a little bit more of just a universal approach where I think some commands do need to have restrictions, especially, around good commands that are maybe easier to get off, right? If it's a good command that's a difficult command like the defense, yeah, anybody can have it. It's just harder to get off, right? So I think there's probably a nice little touch in there that, and I would love to see a little takeover from Firefight where maybe some of your certain commanders are built for certain elements in that list, and those commanders come with their own unique command just for those elements, right? So if you take a Gekata Skylord, he has a command that only affects Gekata units in some way, right? And, I think that would be a lot easier from a casual player perspective to know, hey, you took this special commander, it's built around these types of units, its command is naturally going to affect those units as well, right? So, not saying that. Yeah, I think there's a balance there, right? And it's really tough to say what is the right balance at this moment, because I think we do need to get to where all the armies have an equal amount of commands and somewhat on the same power level or playing field before we can really nitpick some of those finer details.
I would say probably maybe a slightly different take on that, Adam, would be rather than a custom command would be cool, like for a special named character. I think having a custom command is a cool thing. Sorry, Thonar, not yours. Somebody else. Yours is broken, dude. But having a character, let's say it's you said Gekko to Skylord, great. Well, okay, he has a thing that basically he can re-roll against for a Gekko unit when he does a command if he's doing a Gekko unit, and you're not going to build those against for the units that are the best in the army. You're saying, hey, Goblin, whatever their king. Great, you can cast your commands. You reroll one when you're doing on a rabble horde. Okay, it's a rabble horde. Like you're not casting on a giant getting a reroll, but maybe you get a reroll on a rabble horde or something like that, where you're getting a cool thing because hey, this guy does this. He's better when he's with these people. Give you reasons to build your list around a concept, and I think they're getting there. I think Mantic is on the path to getting to that place. And it's those little tweaks like, hey, a special command, or you get a reroll when you're doing this, or those things that give you that benefit. And then having generic commands that like support and build up some underneath to give everybody the same kind of playing field in some areas, and then tilting armies one way or the other a little bit.
And I would love to see commands potentially evolve into some of these auras that I think we lost from 3rd edition. I would love for like special commanders to get, their unique command is activated as a command and it's an aura effect, right? So,
all right, on a 1-up, you get it. Cool, move on.
That was one of the complaints with all the auras, where they were just there all the time. Having to risk them not being active through a dice roll would be a great way to rein those in. That way they could come back into the game more, for sure. We've kind of naturally bled into the last topic of the show, which was the state of the game. But speaking of that, Adam, you and I talked about something over that weekend, and I mentioned to you that the changes to the charge rule and not having to avoid combo charging units, I mentioned that I kind of felt like it was taking a little like the puzzle aspect of the game away a little bit, and you had some pretty good counterpoints. Will you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I remember correctly, you were, saying in third edition, you could position in certain ways that it was very difficult for your opponent to get a successful double charge off, right? So because in fourth edition, if you're both charging, you ignore each other. So my take on that was more along the lines of um, typically at like the higher end play, high end tables, tournament play, a lot of people will position their units appropriately to where they can get double charges off, even if their opponent does, something to try and prevent that, right? And really, you're right in the fact that it is a puzzle, or it was a puzzle in third edition. And it was really kind of a gatekeeping thing, I would say, in a lot of ways, where a lot of good players that have the experience know the ways to prevent it and know the ways to counter the preventative measures. So I think the change actually lowers the standard, which in this case is a good thing, because I think that it just makes it a lot less of a dispute. So an example of that is in several games that I've had, either at Masters or competitive events, I've had conversations with my opponents in third edition where I'm like, hey, I'm going to move this, I'm going to charge this way because I can angle like this, I can pick up, place, connect, this, that, and the other. I'm showing them exactly how I have to do it. I have to have that conversation before I even start moving my stuff, because if I moved something, it wasn't marked, then, well, crap, we're really, screwed at that point, right? In this edition, there's just none of that, where it's just like, yeah, I'm double charging you. I don't care about my own unit, right? So I think it's just a lot cleaner, and it allows for the game to be, I think, better at its core, where it's meant to be a simple game that has fun intricacies that you find. And yet, yes, this is an intricacy that got removed from the game, but I think that there's plenty of details still left to explore. And it just cleans up the game, makes it go a lot smoother, a lot faster in a lot of situations. So I've actually enjoyed it, even though I would put myself in that category of somebody that knew how to take advantage of the third edition rules, as it were. So,
Nathan, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a really good change. I thought it was a really good change the moment it came out. And I will always lean back to, yes, I want there to be competitive play. I want top table of Masters game 6 to be nail biting, and I want those players to be intense. I don't want to be focused, but at the same time, I want anybody to walk in the room and go, "Oh wow, I could play that." Like that's a pretty simple thing. I could play that. I could do that. I think that's one of the areas where Mantic with third edition, I think, really hurt themselves, was they made the game a little too complicated. And it's not even that complicated a game. Like, it's not comparable to it in other games. But with fourth edition, they brought down some of those pieces and made them easier. I don't necessarily agree with every single rule. There are definitely changes I would make. When we talk about charges, only dual charges in one front. Absolutely. That's a really good decision, specifically because it means, okay, I can't throw everything at somebody. I have to pick the right pieces, put the right pieces in place, do the right thing. That makes sense, especially when you say when they charge, they can run through each other. You can kind of do anything. Just get your guys where they need to be. It makes the game a lot simpler in the charge process. I think any complexity that we lose really is the nitpicky complexity that nobody liked. We might think we liked it, but when it came down to it, I spend 3 minutes trying to line up the thing so you can't do the thing. And then you spend 3 minutes trying to figure out how to do the thing. And that's 3 minutes neither of us get back in our life from either direction. And we can't really have fun while we're doing that whatever geometric figuring out, however you want to put it. Like, that's not the fun part of the game. The fun part of the game is, hey, cool, I ran my guys in here. This is how I set it up. Cool, we're good. All right, I'm gonna roll some dice. not that we don't want the tactics, not that we don't want the complexity in there, but find the complexity in the places that are fun for both players. And that's, hey, I'm shoving these two Lakiladons forward. You can kill them, but I'm going to get you afterwards, or you could try to do something else. So figure it out. It's now the puzzle's in your hands, how you deal with that problem. And then the opponent, their response is throwing a different puzzle at me. Okay, well, how are you going to respond to this and this and this and this? Where each side isn't giving the opponent, you can't do something. It's how can you do the best you can do with the pieces you have in front of you. And I think that's to me, a big shift with 4th edition. Honestly, that's how I viewed list building. Okay, how are you going to put the pieces together to make the list do what you want to do? It's not a kind of free for all like it was before, where you just end up taking the things that you feel are the best. It's a how do you want to build the list to do the thing you want to do. That's me. I won't promise that everyone's going to feel the same way, but it's why I think 4th is a great addition for bringing new players in, for bringing in casual players. And the complexity, you could play the game without commands easily. Just say, hey, I'm not doing commands, teaching somebody how to play the first 10 games. You're not going to do commands. You're just going to play, have fun, run up against each other, smash stuff, get good at movement. And then cool. Hey, we're going to bring commands later. Here's what it looks like. Here's how I bring these things in, and then keep playing the game. I know that's Mantic's line, but I think it's a really good line. I think that's the right path for them to take in how they market the game moving forward, and how they at least do their best to build the community around a moderately simple rule set that does build with complexity as you get better at the game. Adam is far beyond me in terms of capability in the game. He would absolutely stomp my face in if we played, but I know what he can do. I know what his movement capabilities are. I know where he can go. So there's nothing hidden. There's no surprises. It is right in front of you. And it's just, hey, can you play better than the other person? And then can you roll dice? Like, a lot of it comes down to dice. But no, I think it's a brilliant move, and I'm fully on board with really all the changes except wild charge. In terms of charging, the wild charge I think is stupid. So actually, and I'll say this is from my game against Nick Cotton, who I will say again, hopefully Nick, you're listening to this. He played a better game than I did. He moved better than I did. He positioned better than I did. He just ran out of time because he spent so long positioning and moving. He had 6 seconds left for his turn 5 to try to get everything into the scoring zone. And he did. He moved a bunch of stuff and got it done. But I was left with turns to kill stuff because I could at that point. But he moved beautifully. There was the one honest mistake he made was he charged my Scorchwing with his Tormentor troop. And he was like, man, I hope I don't break these Scorchwings. And my Tyrants were sitting too close behind my Scorchwings. So I was like, man, I really hope you kill these Scorchwings. And then I was like, okay, I have to go wild charge because he breaks the Scorchwings. I'm like, okay, I have to go wild charge because I can see the flank of your Scarecrows. He's like, you can, because I would hope I would break the Scorchwings. I was like, if I could get the 4+, 3+, whatever it was to get 2 inches, then I'm going to charge him. If not, I basically just have to run, 13 inches, 12 inches, whatever it was, and just stand out in the middle of nowhere just because. And I was like, that's a feel bad moment. I can't say instead, I'm going to charge the Tormentors that are directly in front of me. I'm glad I got the roll that I needed to go break that Scorchwing horde. Tyrants in the flank of Scarecrows, not a pretty thing. Just I wouldn't recommend you try to live through that. But he was in a really good spot if I failed the wild charge, and I felt like I had a piece of the puzzle taken away from me. Which, if the rule stays as it is for this entire edition, probably at the end of the edition, I'll be like, yeah, it's cool, it's a great rule, I love it. Right now, no, it feels bad. I don't like it. I don't like that I have a dude 4 inches away from me. But if I want to charge that over there, I have to roll. If I fail to roll, then I can't charge this dude. It feels bad now. But give me a couple of years.
I'm going to jump in on that. I think it's antithetical to the core of the game that we were just describing, which is it's a simple game, right? This is a complexity that feels like it's just not worth the squeeze at the moment. So why are we trying to complicate something that doesn't need to be realistically?
Yeah, I also I've mentioned it on prior episodes that I feel like it's also antithetical to the game of intentions, especially when you mix in non-wild charging units with the wild charging unit, and it kind of prevents you as the player to declare intentions in those situations to an extent. But Yeah, I think they're looking at stuff like that. Speaking of that, we'll go into. We don't want to talk about, you know, anything that necessarily is more on the secret side, but I would like to ask you guys, how do you feel about, as far as the state of the game, how do we feel about Ronnie showing up at events and being forthcoming as he was this past weekend?
I was excited about it. I was glad he was at Lonewolf. I was, sad when he wasn't at Adepticon, but very happy that he made it to a separate event to kind of make up for that absence. So, and I think I speak for a lot of people that I had talked to, where I appreciate Ronnie's approach to how he showed up to the event, in the fact that he wasn't necessarily defensive about justifying all the reasons of changes to fourth. He wasn't kind of saying, well, you guys just don't see it, this is great. He was very open and honest of, hey, we know fourth edition, especially around the armies side of things, isn't where we want it to be. I want to hear what you guys have to say about that, right? And to his credit, him and Community Pat were there, and they were listening to people for 3 days. It seemed like almost every conversation was around, this is what, insert whoever's talking to him. This is what I want to see, going forward. These are the things that I find pain points in. And, Ronnie soaked it all in. And at the end of the event, it really honestly seemed like he genuinely cared about everybody's opinions that were provided. And it seemed like he was on page with a lot of us, as far as not only were we presenting the things that we thought were issues, but a lot of people had thought out solutions for those issues as well and presented it to him. So I really, really hope to see a lot of implementation from those, well-crafted thoughts. But yeah, I think at this point, it's just a matter of time. I don't think, honestly, none of what was discussed this weekend, I'm not expecting any of that in the book that's coming out here in the next month or two. I think all of this discussion was in prep for the book at the end of the year. So unfortunately, I personally don't have high hopes for the book that's coming out here soon. But I am very curious to see what ends up there. I do have very high hopes for the book at the end of the year, though, based off a lot of discussions that happened this weekend.
I think Ronnie being at Lonewolf is probably one of the best decisions Mantic has made from a marketing perspective in a hot minute, at least as far as Kings of War is concerned. Obviously, did a lot of other good things. And it's probably less marketing. It is a bit of marketing, but it's internal marketing to your captive audience. Because he very honestly said, hey, I care that y'all love the game. If you don't love the game, we're doing it wrong. And we need to know where we're doing it wrong so that we can fix it. Because if you love the game, you buy models, you buy books, you do the things that we want you to do as a company. If you don't love the game, then this all goes away. And we don't want it to go away, and you don't want it to go away. So let's try and sort this out. I still think that the cycle on the books is wrong. I wish fourth edition was coming out this summer. I really think that would have been the right timing to have fourth edition coming out this summer instead of the first book of fourth edition. And I think the book at the end of the year is going to make the fixes that are necessary to keep all the people more or less happy. But I don't think fourth edition's in a bad place at all. I think you could say, great, keep the rules as they are for the entire edition and balance the armies and everybody's going to be fine. And when I say balance the armies, we're not talking about a gulf that's insurmountable by any means. Yeah, EOD are really bad right now. EOD need to be fixed. Period. EOD need to be fixed. There's not really anybody that's close to how bad EOD are right now. Maybe someone will argue with me, but a lot of the other armies, there's sort of this huge middle group of, they're kind of all really close to each other in terms of balance. And the armies you think are way at the edge, yeah, they're a little bit better, but they're not crazy tons better. It's not like I am hopelessly going to go against elves or hopelessly go against goblins. Yeah, I'm going to hopelessly go against Adam or Dustin because I'm not Adam or Dustin. And so when you look at what's the deciding factor, most of the time it's the general. And most of the time it's someone that's playing an army they like, playing a style that they like, and the army happens to fit that really well. Sorry for EOD because they took an absolute beating, and I hope they get some stuff back. Because that is one of what should be Mantic's core armies. It should be one of their top tier, not best of the best, but it should be an army that everyone should look at and go, I can play that army and feel really good about myself and be really happy with the way it plays. And right now it's just not in that space. I should know. I played EOD for like a year, so I'm an expert. But I think there's a space where Mantic can especially put Ronnie in front of people, and nothing against the rest of the Mantic team. Ronnie has more sincerity and more honesty than most people, I think, generally when it comes to talking to people in the Kings of War community. Because deep down in his core, he's still a miniature gamer and he still loves it. He still loves the game itself and he loves the player base. I think genuinely, that's not me, trying to interpret what he said. That's just, I think he does. I think he really does love what he has in front of him with Kings of War. And he wants it to be good. And he's the right person to stand in front of all the people that are, torches and pitchforks. Not really, but that's what he could have walked into.
There was a few torches.
Chris Davis had a lot of torches and pitchforks. And Jesse Garrett had some torches and pitchforks too. But when you could have a conversation with the person who runs a company and say, hey, here are my concerns. And he listens and he responds and says, hey, I can't change everything because I don't want Ronnie balancing the game. I want someone that is an expert, leaning on people that test things, leaning on extensive amounts of data and information, and a lot of games being played to say, great, we need to change this because we can see the balance is off. Not, I talked to a guy at a tournament, so I'm going to change a whole lot of things.
Extending on what you're saying, Nathan, Ronnie is the right guy because, like you said, not only is he genuine, he is sincere, he has he's just the best PR that Mantic has available to him in general, right? But he also has the power to put people in positions to make changes, right? Like you said, Ronnie himself is not going to be the one writing the rule that everybody wants, but Ronnie has probably the best understanding of anybody, knowing what's going on behind the scenes and where a lot of these pain points are coming from, and put people in the right spots to adjust those pain points to see the corrections that people are asking for. So I think that's really a big part of that whole equation too.
A major part of the whole story here is the fact that he was there at all. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know of any other game company owners / CEOs or whatever that are showing up at their major events and saying, just DM me and I'll send it to the right authorities on the problem and the proposed solutions. So even if you're a doomer right now, that should be a I mean, that should be a major slice of grace that you can give yourself a huge sigh of relief. I'm not really enjoying the state of the game right now, but I mean, the man is here, is asking for feedback in person. I mean, that's pretty big, I think. And I think going forward, I agree with you guys. I think we are going to see a lot of the things that were discussed over the weekend. I think we're going to see that come through later in the year.
Obviously, this is a podcast, but I was raising my hand when Dylan was saying doomer because I was honestly, I was very critical of 4th edition when it came out. Many people know I was part of the play testing that leading, throughout the 4th edition process, and I, felt like the ball was dropped on the release of 4th edition, where there were a lot of things that I thought were very clear issues that were not addressed. So seeing, obviously I felt there was I felt that there was just a lot better product that could have been produced if there was a little bit more time put into it. So, seeing the release, and there's a lot of people that are on both sides of it. I was a little bit more in the grudging side of things, a little bit less in the objective looking at how it is, just because I have a peek behind the curtain of what could have been, right? So, having played fourth editions, I think the FAQ that came out really helped a lot, especially around scenarios and tokens. If that wasn't here, I think the scenarios are in a really bad spot, which would have been a really, really big issue. So, changes are getting made in the right direction. I just, hope to see that continue and, get to the point where I think fourth edition on release, what I would love to have seen fourth edition on release be, which hopefully should be the end of this year, that book, what we get after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think fourth edition was a really buggy launch. I think that's, to me, I go back to like the software development side of things. People put out a video game and everyone's like, I mean, it's fine. It's a good game, but like, why is this all janky? And, I keep dropping through the world and stuff that's like, this is stupid. You should have just taken another month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is, to deliver the product. And yes, money's a thing. We all know money's a thing. And there's all these other timing issues. And I think at the end of the day, it's not going to cripple anything. I think this next book coming out really does need to solve some of the issues that we all know exist. And if it doesn't, again, it's not like Kings of War is going to fall apart, but you're probably going to see a little bit like you had at Lonewolf, which is no one's really running EOD. No one's, putting some like Forces of the Abyss on the table, which again, Abyss is coming out. So there could be some good stuff there. I was surprised Halflings made a presence because they're missing a lot of their flavor. And it's not make it third edition with some slight changes. Yeah, we should see fourth edition as a new item, but you can't release it with some of the very big, especially flavor and lore gaps that I don't think should be there. To me, that's the most critical thing of, okay, great. We're talking a lot of flavor. We're talking a lot of story and moving things forward. Then you really need to lean into it. We need to not see armies lose some of the flavor. It's fine if they lose some of the super hyper builds of it one direction. Yeah, no, we don't need that. But you should see armies maintain the flavor and the feel that they're coming from, even if you want to transition them later. But I think right now, it's just some of that's really hampered at the moment. And hopefully they fix some of it in this next release. And what they don't fix then they fix at the end of the year. Because I think that's a really tough timeline to try and basically have the Kings of War universe hold on for a year when it really should have been 6 months. And then it came out in the summer. That was my opinion.
Yeah, that's some good points. That's some good points. And I will say, like you guys, I'm not really holding my breath for anything like spectacular in the book that's coming out. But I also, on the other side of that coin, I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few bits and pieces in there that make some pretty good changes, because they do have quite a bit of data. Quite a bit of feedback from the first few months. So I don't know. We'll see. You guys, Adam, you got any final thoughts? We're going to wrap her up.
No, I think in general, though, Lonewolf wrap up, like Mark always runs a great event. There's people from all across the country and even outside of the country. There's Canadian there from Alberta. Or not Alberta, Edmonton. And we had R.G. Allen from Alaska made it down to. Like, Mark's really, put Lonewolf on the map as one of, if not the, premier U.S. events to make it to. So I can't, say enough good things about Lonewolf. It's a great time. It is really a good travel event, with it being basically attached to a hotel that's right next to an airport. You just don't have to leave once you get there, so it's super easy that way. So Mark does a great job. please go to Lone Wolf at some point. If you can't make it to Lone Wolf, though, selfless plug, go to Bug Eater, Omaha, Nebraska. You can get your tickets right now, June 6th and 7th. So it's coming up quick. I hope to see some new faces there. We got a few. I know Nathan's not going to make it. Unfortunately, he wins an event and then he's going to disappear. He's like, I qualified for the mountain region already. I'm out, boys. But, Dylan, I was talking to Dylan. He might make it. So
we'll try. Where can the fine listeners find the place to buy tickets?
So bugeatergames.com is where you get tickets. There are several other events. It's like a mini convention style. But get your Kings of War ticket there. You can, if you can't find it or you're struggling, just message me directly on Facebook. So
you won't find Adam. Adam will find you. So just think really hard that you might want to go to Bug Eater. Adam's in your DMs just automatically.
That's right. As soon as you show any sort of interest, I'll be pestering you. That's for sure. These guys can contest.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you also run an event, the Mountain guys are not afraid to reciprocate tournament support. They are travelers. So it might be worth showing up at his event to do a little marketing of your own.
That's how a lot of people have come and gone from events. And, I would say like a perfect example for me is Corey Reynolds and his Crossroads GT. That is a hike to get to. Edmonton, New York, like it's in the middle of nowhere. It's this little dinky airport. Made it out one year. It's a fucking awesome event. So it's really tough to go back like year after year, but I've been back once before and now it's in like a rotation where I'm like, I think I can make it every other year. So that's how we're trying to hook you, get you there one time, show you a real good time. Hopefully you'll want to come back.
Nathan, you got any final thoughts?
Lone Wolf, as always, is a fantastic event. Big thanks to Mark for putting on what is absolutely one of the best events in the US. I haven't been to that many, but the ones that I've been to, it's definitely right up there at the top. Definitely go to Bug Eater. If I could go this year, I would. I can't. I decided to get married almost 20 years ago on that weekend, so it's my fault. I really want to commend the people that I played against, because I had 5 of the best games of Kings of War that I have ever had at Lone Wolf. And I mean, both enjoying myself and also I didn't make a lot of mistakes. I didn't screw up like I normally do and do something stupid. But a lot of that is because I had a really good time with the people I was playing with, and we were keeping focus and keeping engaged and keeping a conversation going. And they're bringing up things. Hey, be careful. Look at this. Oh, make sure you're doing this. And that's one of the reasons why I love the game so much. It is a community that is built around how can we have the best game that's directly in front of us. Not, okay, I want to do anything I can to beat you, but how can I have the best game, the most fun with what's right in front of me all the time? And I slaughtered 3 of my clubmates through the event. I did a trifecta llama side. I'm with the Llamadillos, and I defeated 3 of my clubmates through the event. And that's a big part of it. Like, I know these people, we have a good time, but the 2 other people that I played that I think I played one of them once before and the other I had never played. They were 2 of the most fun games that I've ever had in Kings of War as well. And so having a community that knows each other, plays with each other, enjoys each other's company, drives you all to get better, drives you all to succeed, helps each other out, and then bringing other people in, meeting other people, knowing other people. That's what makes this community great. That's what part of it, at least for me, is what Countercharge does. And gathering that community together. And that's what Lone Wolf does as well. So if you can make it to Lone Wolf, if you can make it to Bug Eater, a GT is not about going in there and kicking faces. It's about finding 20, 30, 50 other people that do what you do, and hanging out with them and playing games and having a lot of fun. So definitely do it.
Just jump back in. Lone Wolf is great because of the after-hour hangout. The venue is perfect where, again, you don't have to leave. The hotel manager literally hands Mark the key to the ballroom we're in. We play board games and just hang out. There's food within walking distance. So you're just making new friends. You're hanging out with them all night. You stay up as late as you want. There's a lot of drinking that goes on if that's your type of thing too. And, every event I think does that community building aspect a little bit differently, where Bug Eater, we're not, all staying in one place, but we have a event at the school or the community center, and then we go to Billy Henninger's backyard and have an awesome barbecue where we just feed you guys food. You bring some beer, we throw it in the kiddie pool filled with ice, and everybody kind of shares among that. And then my house is usually open late for late night gaming, board games, card games, all that stuff. And a bunch of people crash in my basement too. So Dylan's been there probably on the busiest year where Rob was keeping everybody up snoring his ass off. But, it's just good times. So really, if you've never been to a Kings of War event, I highly recommend just find one, go to one. And typically you'll be hooked and you'll want to go to another one. You'll meet awesome people. You'll build friendships that last for years, potentially even lifetimes. So can't recommend it enough, no matter what event you're going to.
Even if you're the most casual player of Kings of War, if you never come out of your basement, Mark Zelinsky, if you never come out of your basement before, find an event that's near you and just be like, hey, I'd like to come. Can anybody give me the hookup, share a hotel room, hang out, and you will get people to volunteer to be there and hang out with you, because this community is about bringing everybody together and having a really fun time playing the game that we love. And we have a great company that is supporting it as best it can and making a lot of great strides and moving forward with Mantic. So yeah, this is what it's about. So if you haven't done one before, if you have not done an event before because you're worried, just jump in. It's a lot of fun and you'll meet really, really good people, and there's basically no stress. So come have fun.
There's really no more I can say to describe a Kings of War tournament. I tried to just describe the feeling the other day to someone who's never been to like a big tournament before. I was trying to remember my first GT, and it was like, and I ended up just telling him, it's indescribable. Like, I know it sounds cheesy, but it's just such a great atmosphere, and it might be unique to Kings of War. I know a lot of the things that we do as a community together is, for the most part, unique to Kings of War. As far as the camaraderie and the hanging out and the after hour, the parties, it's like a Kings of War tournament is one huge party. Basically, it's a backyard barbecue with your best of friends. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it.
My favorite is it's a family reunion, but it's the family you chose. All right. Not the one you were stuck with.
Hallelujah. That is a great explanation. I'm going to steal that. I'm gonna steal that. To wrap up, I would like to thank Rob. He volunteered to be the audio engineer for me tonight, so I have little to no work to do on the back end. I might have some work. I don't know. He may give me some work to do. I'm not sure. And thanks to you guys for agreeing to meet up with me and have this discussion. I was really excited to. Full disclosure, I did have some on the ground coverage. This is probably why Rob volunteered to audio engineer for me tonight, because I was trying to get fancy with it, and I actually lost my the audio files that I had recorded over the weekend. I reached out to you guys for this little impromptu, and y'all saved my bacon. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Rob, and most importantly, if you're listening, thank you, and remember to keep countercharging.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Countercharge. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at counterchargepodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @countercharge15, or by commenting on the Countercharge Kings of War podcast Facebook group. If you enjoy the show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Until next time, keep countercharging. Music is a composition of Kevin MacLeod and is licensed under Creative Commons.